Hello there, everybody. Happy Tuesday this week for our Facebook Global Travel Update. Peter Greenberg here with you, coming to you from the Hyatt Regency Hotel right here in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. Of course, you can always reach me. You know how to do it with any of your questions. So go ahead and log in anytime you want. You can also follow me on our website, petergreenberg.com. And of course, you can always email me to peter@petergreenberg.com. Lots of stuff to report on this week. Let's start with the confusion continuing about masks since that court decision about a week and a half ago, actually about 8 days ago. It seems like a year and a half ago by now. I've taken 4 flights since then, and on every flight and at every airport, it's a different deal. I took a flight last week from Los Angeles to New York. When I got to the airport, LA County says you have to wear masks at the airport. The minute you go across into the jetway, take them off. Crazy. Then I came here last night on Qatar Airways from Atlanta via Doha, and no problem not wearing a mask at the airport in Atlanta, but the minute you got on the plane, you had to wear one. It's so the answer to the question right now is, should I always bring my mask? It's rhetorical. Yes. You never know when they're going to make you want to use it, but more importantly, you never know when you want to use it. Like when the guy next to you is, sneezing, coughing, and wheezing. All right, so more on that later, but I may have some good news to report. I hear rumblings from my sources that the other rule that's still in place, the 24-hour rule requiring you to get a negative COVID-19 test within 24 hours of your return flight to the United States, may be gone by Memorial Day, even maybe sooner. So let's hope for that. I'm leaving Dar es Salaam this Friday morning. I will be having to take a test late Thursday afternoon in order to qualify to return home. That rule is not going to go away that fast. But there's hope. With proof of vaccination, reciprocity will rule, and the United States will do what so many other countries have done in eliminating that requirement if you can show proof of vaccination. I showed proof of vaccination about 28 hours ago and was able to board my flight to both Doha and to Tanzania with no requirement for a test. So hopefully there's going to be movement on that. Now, believe it or not, today, coincidentally, is International Pilots Day. Do you know why it's called International Pilots Day and why it's April 26th? Turns out it was enacted in 2014, meaning the April 26th date, to commemorate one of the first pilots ever to fight in a war. He was Turkish. In 1913 and 1912, in those 2 years, he fought in the Balkans Wars, and it was named after him, and we now celebrate International Pilots Day today. What an appropriate day to celebrate it, since there are not enough pilots. How about that? The shortages continue. Airlines are continuing to cut capacity. This is not a good deal as we enter into the summer months. And you name the airline, American, Delta, Southwest. They're cutting capacity in the U.S. United, taking 20,000 flights off the schedule in May and June. However, what did United just announce? And this should give you an indication of where they think demand is going. They just announced their largest transatlantic expansion in the history of the airline. 30 new routes, starting like almost immediately from the United States to places like Amman, Jordan, the Azores, Tenerife and the Canary Islands, Bergen in Norway, and then doubling down on their flights to the United Kingdom from both Boston and New York and other places. They will now have more service over the transatlantic than all other U.S. airlines combined. Maybe they've tripled down. What do they know that we don't know? Demand for overseas travel is back, and they're betting on it. So more on that as it develops. But keep in mind, why did they pick these destinations? They were either underserved or weren't served at all by a U.S. airline. Name one U.S. airline that flies to Amman, Jordan, or Tenerife, or the Azores. Delta flew it about 2 years ago, then they pulled out. I think the time is right. Azores, by the way, one of the great destinations that's affordable, still left in Western Europe. Those are the most Western islands in Europe, and a great opportunity to see. But more as we see what happens on the schedule. But I want to share that with you. In the midst of cutting capacity in the U.S., which is raising your domestic fares appropriately, not necessarily happily, but you understand why, they are now really doubling down on international flying for the summer. What does this mean to you? If you want to book a flight in the United States, you already know the bad news. Airfares are going up. They used to go up 7% a month, then 7% every 2 weeks, then 7% every 10 days. Now it's 7% almost every 4 days. The longer you wait, the more you're going to spend. It hasn't caught up on the international fare market yet. There's still bargains out there to Ireland, to the Azores, to Lisbon, and many other locations. But look, it's April 26th. It may be International Pilots Day. I'll call it International Don't Procrastinate Day, because the longer you wait, those airfares have nowhere to go but up. When you add inflation, fuel prices, the situation in Ukraine, which continues to deteriorate, it's obvious what's going to happen. By the way, speaking of Ukraine, I have to give the shout out again to AmeriCares, Doctors Without Borders, All Hands and Hearts, Operation USA, and of course, World Central Kitchen with Chef Jose Andres. All of those are available on our website for you to check in with and support. They need your help now. These are the 5 organizations that have boots on the ground, people in the region, people in those locations that need the help the most, and they need it immediately. A way for you to truly help out, and I hope you will. Our complete list of aid and relief organizations on a global scale can also be found on our website, petergreenberg.com. Now, last week, I was racing around. I forgot to tell you about our photo of the week last week. Let me tell you about that photo this week, which is perfectly timed because I'm in Tanzania. Anthony, put it up on the screen. This was one of the shots that we did in Royal Tour of Tanzania. What you're seeing is me inside one of 3 unmarked warehouses, heavily guarded unmarked warehouses here in Dar es Salaam. The person behind me is the reason why we were here. She's the president of the United Republic of Tanzania, Samia Suluhu Hassan, and she was kind enough to do the unthinkable and actually let me go in this warehouse with her. What was in there? 49,000 tusks seized from poachers. An atrocious display, but one that we all need to see. And if you watch our show, which just premiered last week, called Tanzania, the Royal Tour, you will see stories that are underneath this one that we're talking about, as well as the rest of the country. So without further ado, in this self-promoting endeavor I'm about to do, Anthony, please roll the trailer for Tanzania, the Royal Tour. Prepare yourself for an epic adventure through a land inhabited by peoples who cling tightly to ancient traditions, while their fellow countrymen freely embrace the marvels of modern life. It's a place that lays claim to being the cradle of all mankind and boasts of fabled spice islands of rare beauty that reveal both a dark past and a shining example of how people of differing traditions can live together in peace and friendship. And on this trip, you'll sleep under the ocean, soar over the loftiest peak on this vast continent, float just above the reach of magnificent beasts, and descend deep underground in search of rare, precious gemstones found nowhere else on Earth. And our guide on this special journey is someone who knows this country better than most. She's explored its expansive terrain, talked to its many peoples, and championed their dreams. She's a woman who's lifted herself from humble beginnings and overcame cultural challenges to confidently lead this country onto the world stage at a critical time in its development. Her name is Samia Suluhu Hassan, and she is the president of Tanzania. So buckle up For the next hour, we're going on an exclusive inside the security bubble trip with this sitting head of state as she shows us her country as only she can. I'm Peter Greenberg, and this is Tanzania, the Royal Tour. And as you can see, it premiered last week on many PBS stations, so check your local listings. It's also available on Amazon Prime and Apple TV+. I'm in Tanzania for the premiere here this week, which will happen in Arusha near Mount Kilimanjaro, and then back to the United States to do what I normally do for CBS News and CBS Radio. But if you get a chance, please check it out. We'll obviously be reporting more on that in the days and weeks to come. Let's go to some of your questions that are on and hellos, of course. Let's see, Evelyn saying hello. Good morning from Jew, always in Japan. Rob saying hello from Williamsburg, Virginia. Hello from Palm Beach from Marjorie. Madula is saying hello from Tanzania. We have a lot of folks watching today in Tanzania. Luce Bayanga is saying hi. Larry Snyder is saying hi, but I don't know where you are, Larry. Willem is saying hi. I know Willem very well because he and I worked on this project from day one. And he's actually up in Arusha now, where I will be day after tomorrow. And Emmy's saying hi, and Pastore's saying hi. A lot of folks in Tanzania, but of course Willie's always saying hi from Atchison, Kansas. All right, there's a billion miles away. And from Dodoma, as Kaiser's saying hi. Dodoma, of course, the official capital of Tanzania. Okay, we got Serengeti checking in. But Priya's watching from Irvine, California. And she says she's going to continue to wear masks during travel. Listen, that's what it's supposed to be, right? Look, I'm a great believer in the air circulation systems on airplanes, but I still bring my mask based on who's sitting next to me. But if nobody's sitting next to me and the air nozzle is pointed straight down, I'm not going to wear the mask. If I'm on a bus, a train, or a subway, I'll be wearing everything short of a three-piece hazmat suit. That's where that ruling from the judge is ridiculous. You can't paint with that broad a brush. They don't have those circulation systems on trains, buses, and subways. That's the problem. All right, another Arusha person checking in. Hello, Chris. Everybody's saying hi from Arusha. You know we're coming. Okay, let's go down here. Gene says hello from Tulsa. Plan on traveling to Florida mid-September. I keep hearing about fares continually increasing. Yeah, you hear it from me. Should I wait to buy tickets? You didn't. Well, you said mid-September. That's a very key point. After Labor Day, fares tend to go down. However, think about this. Since they've eliminated those draconian ticket change fees, you can roll the dice. Go ahead, buy that ticket now, and if the fare drops considerably, cancel that flight, keep the money in your credit, get a lower fare, right? And bank the other fare. But right now, I would say, based on where airfares are going, they're not going to be going down right away. They won't. They just will not. All right. Sweet Bird's watching right here in Dar es Salaam. Robert saying, hope the test is over by May 13th, flying Edmonton back to Florida. I'm right there with you. I've heard, I heard May 3rd, which you may remember was the original sunset date for the mask rule, but more than likely after Memorial Day. Cindy's saying hello from New York, New York. Jack is saying good morning from Indiana. Greetings from Tucson from Camilla. Hey, someone's checking in. Edison's checking in from Zanzibar. Lucy Boyanga, it's Public Day today. That's right. It's not only International Pilots Day, it's National Day here in Tanzania. So thank you for reminding me about that. Karabusana. Okay, Patrick Cooney says, so glad I took your advice. Recently snagged 3 round-trip United first class LAX to Honolulu tickets for 80,000 miles each. Polaris hard product. They're currently going, listen to this, for 230,000 miles each. I told you. A Russian, it was listening in from Kenya. All right. Okay, keep going here. Boy, a lot of folks in Tanzania. Lucky to see you guys. Hopefully I'll see you in Arusha on Thursday. Okay. Wow. Okay. Lots of Tanzania. Randy saying hello from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hello to you, Randy. The crater's being heard from Ngorongoro. Hello, sir. Okay. All right. Going down here. Okay. Lots of people. I'm just going to say a mass hello to all the folks in Tanzania. Okay. All right. Wow. Okay. Pat's saying hello from Pisa, Italy. Beautiful day. Please tell me you did not go to the tower and put your hand up like this for the photo. Please tell me you didn't do that. You know what? I know you did. Okay. Joan says, nice, great trailer. Thank you, Joan. I hope you get a chance to watch the show. Ramey, my good friend Ramey Warren, for those people who remember the home show, I used to do the home show for many years with Gary Collins and Sarah Purcell. Ramey was one of the big cheeses on that show. And last week at our premiere in Los Angeles at the Paramount Studios for the Royal Tour of Tanzania, it was sort of a home show reunion. It was great to see so many of our friends who were producers and writers and executives on that show come by. We had a lot of fun doing that show. I hate to tell you, it was 30 years ago. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Wow. Ted saying hello from Naples, Florida. Hello, Ted. I'll be coming down in that area pretty soon. I'll be speaking in Clearwater and in Tampa next week, as a matter of fact. And by the way, speaking, I'll be flying from Tanzania all the way to Denver this Friday. Talk about a flight connection you don't want to have. But I'll be speaking at the Denver Travel and Adventure Show this Saturday and Sunday at the Convention Center. If you're in the Denver area, please come out and see me. Glad to talk to you and see you there. Okay. Matthew says, how many tourists do I expect will travel to Tanzania from the U.S. after the Royal Tour? I have no idea. But what I can tell you is my job in doing these shows is not really to sell anything, not really to promote anything, but to present a country through the eyes of its leader in basically an unscripted and not controlled way. I should tell everybody that for every Royal Tour we've ever done, the government and the leader and their tourism boards have no right of editorial control or review. In fact, the first time anybody from Tanzania saw the show was last Monday night, the 18th, at the Guggenheim Museum in New York when we premiered it. And whatever happens on these tours, happens on these tours. That's the way it should be, right? Otherwise, it becomes a bad advertorial or a bad infomercial, and that's not what we do. We report on the news. We don't sell anything. So the answer to your question is, that's a question you should actually ask the folks from the Tanzanian Tourist Board, but not me. But from a personal point of view, if you haven't been to Tanzania, you're missing out. I've come now for dozens of years, and I'm telling you, it's well worth it, especially in the post-pandemic world or the endemic world, where you're still looking for wide open spaces and breathing room and social distancing baked into the topography. You can't do better than Tanzania. I will tell you this. I've been going to Kenya for as many years as I've been coming to Tanzania. And in Kenya, you may have to wait 4 or 5 days or even longer before you get a chance to see the Big Five. In Tanzania, I'm not exaggerating, I saw the Big Five in 5 hours. And up close and personal, I might add. It's in our show, you'll see it. And no, they weren't put in there as stunts. They weren't battery powered. They were real. Trust me, I stayed in the car. All right, hey, Emmanuel is joining from Lagos in Nigeria. Another country I'd love to go do for one of our Royal Tours. What an amazing country that is, which has essentially been ignored all these years. Okay. Willie says, last week on Monday, I was on one of the first flights without masks. I was very surprised that it happened so abruptly, but was happy. Let me tell you my experience. Even on the flights that I flew in the last 4 or 5 days, 70% of the passengers wore their masks voluntarily. Okay. Barbara's saying hello from Tampa. Well, that's where I'm going to be next week. I'll be in Clearwater, not far from you. Okay. George wants to know, can I talk about travel safety in Tanzania? The U.S. Embassy in Tanzania has some travel advisories from Tanzania like terrorist threats. Here's the biggest terrorist threat. I can't find one. How about that? Look, I know the U.S. ambassador here. I'm going to see him tomorrow night, but I still have an issue with the U.S. State Department advisories, and that issue is still with us. It goes back to before they had the revamped State Department advisories, where they were painting with a huge broad brush. Now they're painting with an even bigger brush. I feel totally safe here. The people are great. They're happy to see me. They'll be happy to see you. You practice the same basic common sense in Dar es Salaam as you would in Dallas, and you'll be fine. I'm telling you, I don't have a problem here. My metric for my own travel advisory is I'll tell you the one thing that will tell me where I'm not going to go, right? I will decide not to go somewhere based on only one metric. Who's in control? So, would I go to North Korea tomorrow? Yes, I would. I know who's in control. Would I go to Iran tomorrow? Yes, I would. I know who's in control. Would I go to Cuba tomorrow? I've been going to Cuba for years. I know who's in control. Would I go to parts of Chechnya tomorrow? Probably not. Syria? Probably not. Ukraine? Probably not. Yemen? Probably not. Maybe parts of Mogadishu? Maybe. Probably not. I'm now running out of places I won't go to. There are 196 countries in the world. I just named maybe 5 or 6. That gives you 190 more to go if you practice common sense and do your homework. One of the things I would suggest, and the State Department hates when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't just look at the State Department advisories. And by the way, I also read them, which most of you don't do. I also look at the advisories given by the British Foreign Office to their citizens. I happen to think they do a better job. Get both. They're easy to get. You can find them all on our website, petergreenberg.com. But remember, they're called advisories. But let's talk about what they've done in the last 3 or 4 years, which was done, I'm sure, well-intentioned by the Trump administration, which knew that the previous system wasn't really working. So instead of having isolated warnings or advisories, they came up with an advisory for every country, and then they divided it into 4 levels. This is where it gets a little nuts. Well-intentioned, but I'm sorry, nuts and misleading. Every country now has an advisory. Level 1, travel with normal caution. What the hell does that mean? In my book, that means try not to trip and fall. Level 2, this is where it gets a little crazy, travel with increased caution. I have no idea what that means, but for most of you who operate from a basis of fear, that means you're putting plywood on your windows. Level 3, this is where you're already digging the bunker in the basement, reconsider travel. And level 4 is do not travel. Would you believe that there are now do not travel advisories covering 70% of the globe? Would you believe there's a do not travel advisory for Antarctica? Have you seen penguins frothing at the mouth and glowing in the dark? I have not. So this is, I'm sorry to say, cover your ass time. And I know why they're doing it. Because of what happened under the old system. It goes back to Pan Am 103 on December 21st, 1988. Don't get me started. I encourage you to read the advisories. Read them as advisories. Do the ones from the British Foreign Office. Make an informed, intelligent decision about your travel choices. But when you hear those 3 words, State Department advisory, it's got such a negative connotation, you guys just run for the bunker. Don't do it. All right, I'm sorry I got off on this, but George asked me to talk about safety. I just did. The other thing you should do, there's a great website now called pressreader.com. You can subscribe to it. It gives you the local newspapers all around the world anytime you want them. Take the State Department advisory, take the British Foreign Office advisory, and then take a look at the last 12 days front page stories of the local newspapers in the destination that you're going. Okay? That'll help you out too. All right. Here we go. Hello from Minnesota, says Amy. All right. A lot of Sunset Beach, North Carolina. Okay. And Dar es Salaam, of course. Stephen Ricker from Mississippi. Oh, and the other Greenberg family, which I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm sure there are other Greenberg families out there. With a name like Greenberg, I'm stopped every 5 minutes going, are we related? Probably not. But I love talking to everybody, so keep coming. All right. Here we go. Oh, it's time for our trivia contest. Here we go. I love this one. All right. No cheating, guys. Here it comes. Which country has the most pyramids? Here it is again. Which country has the most pyramids? If you think you know, chime in. All right. Lee says, is there a way to get into Delta Sky Lounge without paying a fee? Yeah, there is. I believe, and I'll double check this, if you have an American Express Platinum card, you'll get in. That's about it, unless you're a member of the Crown Room or the Sky Club, they call it now. I'm dating myself. Then no. You can get a day pass. I think it's about $50, but you ask without paying a fee. Or travel with me. Yeah, but I'm already booked. But that's how you do it. And by the way, the good news is for people who are interested in these airport lounges, the airline lounges are getting overcrowded. I'm sick and tired of pretzels and carrots. And I can't find a seat in most of them. They're overcrowded. So what's happening? American Express is opening up Centurion clubs, if you have an American Express card. Chase, the Sapphire guys, a number of the credit card companies, Capital One, they're starting to open branded airline airport lounges at airports. Check them out. It's another benefit of card membership. And if you have one of those cards, chances are you won't have to pay the fee. Okay. Okay. Willie says, it'll be interesting to see how United will do in Ponta Delgada. I think they'll do better than Delta because they're using a 737 and a lower cost than the 757 that Delta used. One small little ironic story about that. I flew the Delta flight to Ponta Delgada two or 3 years ago, and then something happened. That 757, which was not a new airplane, by the way, for reasons that are still unexplained, that particular aircraft made a very hard landing in the Azores. So hard, in fact, it bent the airframe. It bent the fuselage. You could see the crumpling, right? It's like a bad, Coca-Cola can once you squeezed it. Needless to say, that plane was taken out of service. They tested it. It was deemed safe to fly at a lower altitude. They flew it back as a ferry flight. That was the end of the Delta service. So 737 may be better suited. But by the way, Delta never should have canceled the service because it's such a popular destination now. Guaranteed that you'll have a great time. By the way, what I really love about the Azores, among other things, other than the seafood and the pastries, right, the pastel de natas, those of you who know what those are, is the bullfights. No, I'm not being politically incorrect. It's not really a bullfight. In fact, the bull doesn't die. It's not even a bullfight. It's a bull chase. And it goes from village to village. It's usually unannounced. You have to figure out what villages are coming to tomorrow. And you get there early. Some alcohol may be involved. Could be, but you stand behind barricades unless you're totally stupid. The bull comes in a truck. They attach like a 600-foot rope to it, and they just let it out of the truck. It's hysterical. And a lot of the guys there are trying to impress the women by taunting the bull. Sometimes the bull gets a little too close, or they get a little too close to the bull, and they become airborne. Of course, you're watching this from behind a barricade, aren't you? Thank you. And then when it's all over, the bull goes back in the truck and goes home and eats. That's the kind of bullfight I like, as opposed to the other kind of bullfight. Okay. A lot of folks listening from Marusha. Tell me more about your appearance in Tampa next week. It'll actually be in Clearwater. It's addressing a business and luxury travel group. So you can check the folks in Clearwater, they can tell you. Okay. All right. Everybody's listening in on this. Oh, my goodness. The Denver Travel Adventure Show, yes, April 30th and May 1st in Denver next week. Coming up in a couple of days, actually. Another person has chimed in here. The Sky Club, the Delta Sky Club, can be complimentary if you're booking a higher class ticket, obviously Delta One or First Class International. Okay. Thank you for your nice comment, Camilla. I appreciate that. Hello there. And is Singapore back open? We will check. Singapore is opening slowly, right? And they still have checks in place. Remember, they were one of the toughest places for inbound traveler quarantines. So we will double check that for you and get you a specific answer as to whether or not it's really open. Okay. Okay. All right, now, shall we tell you the answer to the question? Let's see if anybody got it. I'm gonna scroll back up. Which country has the most pyramids? I'm not seeing a lot of correct guesses. Here's a hint. It's not Egypt. You knew that, right? I'm looking here to see if anybody got it. All the way down here. All right, I'm not seeing, Joan says Mexico, wrong. Carol says Mexico, wrong. Drew says Egypt, already said it wasn't Egypt. Everybody's guessing Mexico. No, Libya, incorrect. Did somebody just guess Italy? What are you drinking? Okay, all right, the answer, you ready? A couple of people got it, actually. I just noticed this. Somebody says Guatemala, incorrect. Somebody get Las Vegas, wrong. Okay, the answer is the Sudan. So got it right. Lisa got it right. Who else got it right? Macon got it right. Men would know that since he's out in Tanzania all the time and talks to me every time. But the answer is the Sudan. Egypt has about 118 pyramids. The Sudan has more than 200. Who knew? Well, now you know. All right. Now, let's go to the photo of the week for this week. Anybody want to guess where that was taken? Answer, not the Sudan, not Mexico, not Las Vegas. The answer is it was taken by, who wrote this? Oh, yeah, Sue Hannafin wins. And she took this while coming into Joost van Dyke on White Bay in the British Virgin Islands, the BVIs. And they were there just last month. And it's beautiful, I agree. Question is, was it really crowded? It doesn't look like it based on the number of boats and anchors there. And of course, once you're in Joost van Dyke, you go all around the BVIs, including Richard Branson's island, Necker Island, but you better have a reservation. Thank you again to Sue. And if you think you've got a great photo of the week that qualifies, just send it in to us, peter@petergreenberg.com, and we'll put it right up here on the show. Now to some questions that you sent in earlier. Linda says, where should I stay in Cleveland near the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? As you may know, our radio show this past weekend was from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. I like going there at least once every other year. They have an amazing exhibit there now called Get Back, about the Beatles, of course, but always something new. What a great interactive place to hang out and revisit American history, especially from the 60s and the 70s and onward, and how it really shaped, how the music shaped our life and our history. You asked about a hotel near there. There are so many. I'm not going to recommend one. You're not spending much time in your hotel anyway, but you can walk there from most of the hotels downtown. It's an easy walk. You don't have to Uber anything. Okay. Joe wants to know, what's the best time of the year to visit Moab, Utah? In my book, it's September. That's the magic month there. Kids are back in school. The national park clears out a little bit, and it's just beautiful. And the sun stays out a little bit later as well. It has, you haven't really gotten to standard time. So September is the magic month for me. And so is May, by the way, if you want to go next month. Okay. Linda wants to know, just wondering if you can comment on how Brexit in the UK will affect compensation for flight delays, cancellations. It will affect it in a big way because the EU Rule 261 no longer applies to the UK. The EU Rule 261, and I reported on this recently, is a very strong denied boarding or delay compensation for passengers whose flights are either delayed or canceled, or they get bumped. And you can earn up to about 600 pounds, or I should say, there's my pre-Brexit, 600 euros, if that happens to you. As far as your compensation in the UK, unless it's on an American carrier that wants to actually comply with US rules, and most of them don't, you're not going to get much compensation. Gail wants to know, and this is a question we've been asking, I can't begin to tell you how many times, is the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, really opening November 28th? The last we heard it is. We will double check again this week, but this has been sliding around for almost 3 years now. Almost 4, I should tell you. because I was already in the building 4 years ago, and they were already hard at work doing all the restoration work of all the artifacts that were coming in. So I have no idea why they're waiting, but I keep hearing November 28th is a hard date. We will double check and get you an answer if we can next week. Nancy says, you mentioned a particular company that handled travel insurance. Would you mind saying the name again? Well, there are a couple of companies that I mentioned because there's different kinds of insurance. There's trip cancellation and interruption insurance. And there's medical evacuation and repatriation insurance. For trip cancellation and interruption, the two companies that I think are doing a much better job now, which basically indicates they weren't doing such a great job before, especially with the pandemic, are Allianz and Travel Guard. Again, you have to read the fine print. Get a travel advisor to talk to you. They can sell you the policy. Do not do it online. You need to know what you're covered for as well as what you're not covered for. There are age exclusions, pre-existing medical exclusions, destination exclusions. Find out if you're actually covered, and then you can buy with confidence. But I will tell you that Allianz now has a product that will cover you if you test positive for COVID. That was not the case in 20 or 21. Okay, that's one. The other kinds of insurance, and I mentioned the names of these companies as well, medical evacuation and repatriation insurance, that would be MedJet Assist and Travel Guard again. Both have great policies because they carry one provision in there, which I think is key. Other policies don't. Here's the policy that they have, or the provision that they have. If you get sick or injured overseas, they will obviously pay to get you medically stabilized in place. They will then consult your own personal physician who knows your medical history better than your own doctor, and then in consultation with that doctor, allow you to fly to the medical institution and doctor of your choice in the U.S. And they'll fly you there if you need it in a medically equipped jet. Those are the key words, to the institution and doctor of your choice. There are a lot of other medical evacuation and repatriation policies out there that will fly you to the medical institution and doctor of their choice. And I'm sorry, I don't want them to pick a bad HMO based on cost. You don't want to be the victim of the lowest bidder. So check out the language in MedJet Assist and Travel Guard. But once again, there are pre-existing condition exclusions. There are age exclusions, although there could be higher premiums for those of you over the age of 75. And there are destination exclusions. Very few companies are going to pay for you to come home from Syria, from Ukraine, from other active war zones. So check that out. There's another company that I also suggest for the medical evacuation and repatriation, especially the repatriation, and that's a company called Global Rescue. Check them out as well. They are great at basically get you out, at basically physically pulling you out if you need to be. Again, read the language. Those are the three companies I like. All right. Jay says, heard you speak at a travel show in Dallas a few weeks ago, and I asked a question about Regulation Z and getting money back. I was promised from an African safari. Credit card is denying it. What should I do? Let me explain Regulation Z. But first of all, let me explain the federal credit law. If you buy a product or a good or a service, it could be a washer and dryer or an African safari, and you do not receive that within 60 days of your purchase date where you put the card down, under federal credit law, you can dispute the charge on your bill, get an interim credit while the credit card company investigates, and hopefully that interim credit becomes a permanent one and they become the creditor against that travel or good provider. Where people got into trouble during the pandemic was they booked their cruise 6 months ahead. And of course, the cruise either got canceled or rebooked or postponed or whatever, and their rights apparently evaporated. But there's another little provision. It's not part of the federal credit law. It's not part of any law. It's a regulation that major credit card companies abide by. It's called Regulation Z. American Express, Visa, MasterCard, Discovery, they all abide by it. And it's a little bit different language. They're not going to volunteer it to you, but it exists. That if you discover that you're not going to get the good or service, within 540 days of purchase, you can still dispute it if you invoke Regulation Z. Where people got into trouble with that during the pandemic, let's go back to 2020, they booked their cruise in 2019. It didn't happen in April or May of 2020. It then got postponed to October 2020. It didn't happen then. It got postponed to 2021, and then maybe fall of 21, maybe even spring of 22. Guess what? You even excluded, basically exhausted the 540-day rule. So that's what we're talking about with Regulation Z. So there you have it on that. Let's scroll down here. Okay. Oh, the question is, will there be another Tanzania royal tour? No. One leader per country, please. We've done the show now for 22 years, ranging from the King of Jordan to the President of Mexico, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, the Presidents of Peru and Ecuador, the Prime Minister of Poland, President of Rwanda, Prime Minister of Israel, and most recently, of course, the President of Tanzania. We're working on 5 more. They're difficult to do, as you can imagine. Asking a head of state to give me 8 solid days of their schedule devoted only to me with no editorial control. You can imagine how their gatekeepers feel, but that's the way. Those are the rules, and that's what makes it hopefully a good and credible series. So I hope you'll continue to watch. We'll let you know as we're ready to announce the next couple of leaders that we're going to do. They take some time, as you can imagine. Okay. All right. Freddie's following live from Holland. Okay. I'm looking here. I'm still looking up. Somebody's watching from Zanzibar. Sudan. There we go. You got it. That was from KZ. From George saying he's involved in wildlife conservation in Tanzania, and I appreciate the U.S. government and citizens to support conservation. Would you mind sharing email? I was to reach out to you for some specific suggestions okay, George, my email is easy. It's peter@petergreenberg.com, so right away. All right, we're going to scroll up here a little bit, see if I've missed anybody. In the meantime, some housekeeping notes before we run out of time. Here's one from Willie who says Delta stopped selling one-time passes to the Sky Clubs a few years ago. I think they're back. Might want to check. All right. I'm looking here to see if I've missed anybody else. Okay, let me give you some housekeeping notes. Of course, our show this Saturday, what a surprise. Our radio show is from Tanzania. So check it out, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. We also stream it live. You go to petergreenberg.com, hit the radio icon. We stream it live at about 10:05 after all the local stations do their news and weather and traffic. Hope you'll join us. If you miss it, it's a podcast available about 3 days after the original broadcast. Of course, Royal Tour Tanzania, or Tanzania the Royal Tour, on your local PBS station. That'll be rolling out through the months of April, May, and June, so check local listings. If you want to see it earlier than that, it's available on Amazon Prime and Apple TV+. And of course, I'll see you on CBS in the morning with Gail and Tony and Anthony. Actually, it's Gail and Tony and I'm going to be in trouble for this one, but I'll see you at CBS this morning, or CBS Mornings. I forget what they even call it anymore, but I've been doing it for 13 years. I should know better. But in any case, we'll see you again. We'll see you soon. Of course, this Thursday, the Royal Tour premiere in Arusha with the president, and right back to Denver right after that to speak at the Denver Travel and Adventure Show on Saturday and Sunday. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Have a very safe week. Plan your trips and book your trips now to avoid the continuing rise in airline tickets, but do it smartly. Remember, about 186 countries in the world you can go to. Think 330 days out. If you've got a lot of frequent flyer miles lying around, now's the time to redeem them. Remember, you never want to redeem miles when the ticket's $59. You want to redeem them when the ticket's $5,900. And as we all know, ticket prices are headed in that direction. Again, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week from another location somewhere around the world.